All right, folks, you're here for a monumental moment. We have the beautiful flag here in Chesapeake, Virginia, the City Hall behind us with all of our runners from today, as well as, of course, your core team. And we are about to meet a very special individual in Kristen's life, her dearest father. Chesapeake is a beautiful township, could perhaps be a city, I'm not sure of the population, but they have really lovely crepe myrtles, as you can tell. Gorgeous trees, nice landscaping, and George's house that we were just at was very nice as well. All right.
Is this on the live
Say hello to the world.
Hi.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hey, good to meet you.
You're on the live feed right
She's
now?
famous.
That's her.
This is the
This
girl.
is
How
my
many miles?
dad.
How many miles
No,
now?
Dad.
She's done over 2,000, I believe.
No.
Something like that.
Are you still giving me $1 per mile?
No.
Stop quick.
Give me $1 per mile.
We were the support, so in a way, you know.
It is too cool.
That's
What you're
awesome.
doing. It is. It's just telling everybody, and they're just like, she did what? I go, yeah.
Aw.
I know.
Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
For such a good cause. Well, we're here now, and we'll go over to the ceremony. We'll read some names and head this way. Again, we can go back to Topeka, Virginia. We've got 5 days left here. Chesapeake, beautiful town. George has found himself here.
We met George's parents.
We did. We met Terry and his stepfather,
Yeah,
and it was
beautiful couple.
beautiful, happy couple. Saw where George actually came up with the idea for Honor and Remember and the flag.
Yeah.
More of the flag, less of the Honor and Remember. That was separate.
George has a pool
Okay.
and fish.
Yes, he loves fish.
George
He told us a
loves
story
fish.
about collecting his reptiles and lizards and minnows and raising them. And we can tell that where he placed his home is a good place for his children to have experienced the same kind of upbringing.
Oh, yeah.
Marshland.
I only know you on Facebook. I was wondering if I was you.
There's our NBC reporter. She is here making a small documentary. It won't be as long or as in depth as mine and Teddy's, but it will be good. Her name is Mariana Keller. Great last name. We got Dan there leading the troops, bringing us in. We got Sean Linder right there, going over to the RV. Laura around there, probably heading over to Falcon, which is the Nissan Frontier. We have a little bit of an event starting here today. Would you put this in the... Yes, thank you. Great City Hall. Look at that reflection. Now that is a nice shot. If someone were a photographer, they'd like that.
That is pretty. I do like the reflection. Oh, that's nice. Get it? Are we good to walk past?
Yeah.
How you doing, John?
Who was driving the blue RV?
I was.
Could I have the keys? I'm gonna.
I guess you got stabilization in there since as you're running, you're taking pictures, right?
Oh, I keep myself very still while I take them.
What are you shooting there, 70 millimeter?
Yeah, 70 to 200 on this one here.
This
This one's just the 60D. We have an 80D back there, and we once had a 5D, but it's now lost.
Well, I'm glad you had some decent weather for your runs.
Yes. Yes, we did.
Since that's been a swampland down there.
We had a bit of rain in the beginning and throughout. We had some sprinkles, but for the most part, we were
Now, how many
pretty dry.
runners?
Well, let's see. We have 1, 2. We have Kristen. We have Jake. The runners are actually right here.
All in
Chris. Yep. Yeah, pretty much an orange, white as well. Kristen. And then he and I are the documentarians, filmmakers. We're actually creating a documentary about the whole thing, which you can check out probably in the next 9 months. Actually.
How many miles do they run a day?
About 50, right now about 50 to 70.
Okay.
Okay. You mile markers
And
everywhere.
they've got mile posts along the way where people are waiting for water and protein and.
Oh, we actually have that on the RVs.
Oh, you have it on there.
But we have mile markers where we stop and read off the
Once
names.
they get there, they get some protein bars. And
Yeah, well, kind of. We do about 30 seconds. You'll actually hear George is gonna give a speech here in a minute. So you'll hear all about it.
coordinate good.
Good to meet you.
Sure.
Yeah. Typically on days where there's a lot of stuff going on, we'll delegate it out.
To the end of day
Someone calls it that.
116. Runners left Fort Oakland, California on April 7th. And they have run over 5,700 miles. Remember in fallen each mile of the way. Tomorrow they will run through Chesapeake on their way to Fort Story and then on to Arlington National Cemetery.
You want me to take over?
Special thanks to the associates of Spartan Nash for their support and honor and remember. Mission Barbecue and Tappet Local. Staff Sergeant John Dozier Memorial VFW Post and American Legion Post 280. At this time, because I'm going to ask Soul Star families present to please stand. We'll have a roll call of Chesapeake's fallen. Andrew Trezon, day 25, mile 1,164 in Arizona. Ian Manuel, day 23, mile 1,045 in Arizona. Pendleton Sites, day 32, mile 1,485, Arizona. Tony Lutz, day 37, mile 1,748, New Mexico. John Dozier, day 59, mile 2,470, in Oklahoma. Michael Johnson, day 67, mile 3,050 in Iowa. Colleen Dunn, day 70, 3,204 miles in Illinois. Cody Childers, day 75, 3,378 miles, Illinois. Kevin Houston, day 82, 3,703 miles. We give the runners that have recognized all and every mile along the way.
You want yours right here? I want to put it.
came over with my grandson. We left my house and went to Cold Stone, had some ice cream, went out to City Park, Fun Forest. I sat on the bench and I watched my daughter and my grandson, a year and a half old, play. And I thought to myself, it was just yesterday that I was pushing her in the swing. And then my thoughts went to where I would be tonight. And quite honestly, I thought about you, Carl, and I thought about the fact that you would not have that opportunity. And it really made me sad. It made me think about the sacrifices that have been made so that I could sit in the park and enjoy that kind of freedom. It also made me realize for the first time, not on an intellectual level, but on an emotional level, when George came to Chesapeake and he met Alan Krasnoff, and I believe it was in the hall, not sure, my memory's not all that great, and he asked him about some program called Honor and Remember and putting the flag up, and he got about halfway through his story. Krasnoff said yes, without thinking. So it made me realize on an emotional level how a decision could be made that fast, that clear, because of what it stands for and what you have done and what they have done for our country and for our citizens. So please, as your mayor, allow me to just briefly read our proclamation. Whereas George Lutz, a citizen of Chesapeake resident, established the Honor and Remember Incorporated to bring recognition and honor to the members of the armed forces who have died in the line of duty, there is no greater love than he who would lay down his life for his fellow man. And whereas Chesapeake was the first city to fly the Honor and Remember flag created by the Honor and Remember Incorporated, an official symbol to recognize the services and the sacrifices of those fallen members of our armed forces. And whereas on April 7, 2018, the Honor and Remember Incorporated launched a national tribute, America's Run for the Fallen. It is the most comprehensive individual fallen service member tribute ever organized, beginning at Fort Irwin, California, and ending on August the 5th in Arlington Cemetery. And whereas America's Run for the Fallen is comprised of rotating, organized athletic training teams of dedicated runners, both military and civilian, blazing the trail for 117 days and covering over 5,500 miles. And whereas Chesapeake's honor is fallen sons, and you've heard the names, I therefore, Richard W. West, Mayor of the City of Chesapeake, do hereby recognize and Honor and Remember Incorporated and America Run for the Fallen for bringing honor and preserving the memories of those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation's freedom as they complete the tribute run to Arlington Cemetery. Congratulations to those who have made this laborious journey, and welcome to the city of Chesapeake. George, I'd like to present this proclamation to you, sir. God bless you and thank you. Where are the runners? I would like the runners to come up so I could present these pins.
Okay, would my court, well, all the team today, core team, everyone, please come up. The mayor would like to give you a pin. I guess this is the core team. I didn't get a chance to speak yet, but I have a core team of about 8 that have traveled the entire way from California. Plus, we picked up runners along the way, locally, and even some we drug in from North Carolina. And so, without this core team, this event would not have happened. It's an amazing group that have sacrificed put their lives on hold for 5 months to volunteer to make sure that this tribute was done respectfully and reverently.
As I listened to Mayor West's comments, I couldn't agree more with the comments that he's made, and want to reiterate from myself, from my heart, and from my fellow members of the General Assembly, just how much we appreciate the sacrifices that families have made through their children, or family members, fathers, grandfathers. As our nation's been in existence for several hundred years, there were many that came before us. Unfortunately, we're here to remember some that have fallen in our lifetime, but we know that freedom is not free, and there will be more to come, and so we pray for all the families that have been lost and all those that may be lost in the future. Now, I've been a member of the General Assembly for 5 years, and I've introduced my share of resolutions and presented my share, but I've never read one. And so tonight, because we're honoring some people here that aren't with us, I'm going to break with my normal practice, and I'm going to read this resolution. It's similar to the one that Mayor West read, but I want to read it because it calls attention to those members of our city who have paid the ultimate sacrifices. So Rick's telling me you can't hear me. So can you hear me any better now? I'll try to just yell. So, the Commonwealth of Virginia General Assembly, House Resolution number 638. Commending honor and remembrance run for the fallen, agreed to by the House of Delegates May 30th, 2018. Whereas honor and remembrance run for the fallen, an event spanning 19 states from California to Virginia, honors the service and sacrifices of the nation's fallen soldiers. And whereas George Lutz, a Chesapeake resident, created honor and remembrance run for the fallen after his son Tony made the ultimate sacrifice in Iraq in 2005. And whereas Run for the Fallen was the first held in 2008, with participants marking each mile with an American flag and a biographical card for every member of the U.S. military killed during the War on Terror. Honor and Remembrance Run for the Fallen in 2018 commemorates the 10th anniversary of the original event. And whereas, beginning in San Diego, California, the participants of Run for the Fallen have been running for more than 100 days, covering more than 5,000 miles, and honoring thousands of fallen soldiers and their families. And whereas Chesapeake was the first city to fly the Honor and Remember flag and honors its fallen sons, including Lance Corporal Cody Childress, USMC, Sergeant First Class Jonathan Killian Dozier, USA, Lance Corporal Killian Terrell Dunn, USMC, Chief Petty Officer Kevin A. Houston, USN, SEAL, First Lieutenant Michael E. Johnson, USMC, Corporal George Anthony Tony Lutz, USA, Sergeant Michael C. Peake, USA, Lance Corporal Stephen Lee Phillips, USMC, Pendleton Lydell Sykes II, USA, Chief Warrant Officer 2nd Ian Desmond Manuel, USA, Private First Class Andrew L. Tazon, USA, and Sergeant First Class William Brian Woods, Jr., USA. Whereas honor and remembrance run for the fallen has brought honor to the nation's fallen heroes in their memory. And as they complete their run in Arlington National Cemetery, it is fitting to congratulate the families, the many runners who have made this arduous journey. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Delegates, the honor and remembrance run for the fallen hereby be commended for its work to pay tribute to military lives lost in defense of our nation. And be it resolved further that the clerk of the House of Delegates prepare a copy of this resolution for presentation to honor and remembrance run for the fallen, an expression of the House of Delegates' admiration for the organization's noble mission. House patrons, Leftwich, Boysko, Commerce Valley, Heritage, Chris Jones, Knight, Landis, Rock, Rasul, Rome, and Watts. Signed by G. Paul Nardo, House of Delegates. Again, I apologize if my voice is projected my first few comments, but just know that the General Assembly appreciates the sacrifices from my heart to yours. I'll keep all of these members of our nation in my memory, in my prayers. Thank you.
going to stand up here. God bless you guys. Thank you for being here. Oh my gosh, this is overwhelmed. Really overwhelmed.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
that's all right. I hear my name, mentioned. You know it's not about me. And not at all about me. And my name could just be out of this world. I do have a story. And this is why you're on this mission. And yes, Mayor, whatever you decide. It is something that started right here in Chesapeake. Hey, I wish it didn't start here in Chesapeake. I wish it didn't start at all. I'll tell you that right now. Because if I had to give my son to have this all started out, I'd gladly have him back sitting at home on the couch doing nothing. I mean, that's what my brothers would do. But it didn't happen that way. And I was just reflecting just an hour ago as how early in the morning I was just walking through the backyard of the house early that day and walking. Happened to notice an old van in my driveway, a white van that didn't really have any markings on it. And I walked in the back door, and who should be greeting me but two uniformed soldiers with 5 very simple words: "We regret to inform you." The most devastating words that any family can hear. And no, believe me, nobody wants to hear them, nor does anybody want anybody else's family to hear them. It's that tragic. And so out of that loss, a few years later, one of the things that I realized was the most important for all of these families that have given everything for our freedom is that they be remembered, that their loved ones not be forgotten, but that these families not be forgotten. And it's something that it's so easy for us to do. We can call out the names of all those Chesapeake heroes, but how many of us can raise their hand and say, I knew he was married, I knew whether he had kids or not, I knew whether his family was together, whether his mom and dad were alive or separated, or not many of us know those facts. But those families are still with us. And those families will be grieving for the rest of their lives. And they're among the fabric of our community. And we need to be thankful for those families. Yes, we need to remember their loved ones, but we need to be thankful that those families bore and married and raised those loved ones so that we could have those heroes. And so the Honor and Remember flag was created to be a national symbol of remembrance, to be a national symbol of thanks, so that all of us Americans could send that message to all these families with a simple symbol to say, I remember, I appreciate, I care, thank you. That's the reason that flag was created. And thank you to Mayor Krasnoff at that time, and he said, man, I get it. Let's put it up on the pole. And I'll tell you, Post 280, I don't know, is anybody here from Post 280? Yes, sir. There he is. There you are, my buddy. That man right there. Before I even had the concept of a flag, all I had was a picture that was drawn. And I drove over to Post 280, and I explained this concept, and they said, we've got to have that flag. We've got to have that flag. And before it was even unveiled on Memorial Day of 2008, they begged me to be the first flagpole to put that flag up in the nation. And they were. And I'm so proud of that because it's been up ever since. It's never come down. Well, a couple of times it got worn out. And I had to call them up and go, hey, the flag's not up. We're getting a replacement. No, but the first American Legion post in the nation, Post 280, and I'm so grateful for that. Being from the town, you don't know how people are going to accept things, but it's been an amazing, amazing embracing. So fast forward, well, one other thing. So the flag now in 10 years has been legislated as the state symbol of remembrance in 24 states now. Virginia was the first. So 24 states have now legislated the honor member flag as their state symbol. I can't tell you how many cities, many, many cities. And so our mission, obviously, is to get this flown in all 50 states. And recently, Delegate, there was legislation this year that was passed to actually allow it to fly not only on the rest stops, if you see it at the rest stops, but on every state building in the state of Virginia. So really proud of that, and thank you for that. So that's a real milestone, because I'd like to see it on the DMVs and every state building, the troopers, way stations, and everywhere. But fast forward, as an organization, we are about remembrance. We are about public remembrance. We are about making sure that the nation understands this message that we can send to these families. And so we thought the best way, the very best way of remembering is to call names out loud, right? That's the best and really the only way to know that we haven't forgotten someone. So we thought, well, how do we do that? Big picture. Well, we're in the war on terror, very significant in our contemporary lives. Let's compile every name that we can possibly find of those that gave their life during the war on terror. And so we worked with the Department of Defense and the Army and the Navy and a few other organizations, and we began compiling 2.5 years ago the names of every service member who died while serving, okay, no restrictions on that, who died while serving as long as they were in uniform. I don't mean when they died, but as long as they were serving, or as a result of serving, even including those that succumbed to the hidden wounds of post-traumatic stress. We are very much encompassing, in our umbrella of honor. And so that compilation of names, fast forward, brought us today, even though we started 2.5 years ago, to over 20,000 service members. 20,000 service members who died while serving or as a result of serving since the bombing of the USS Cole on October 12, 2000. From that day forward, we began to bring names together. And once we brought them all together, we put them in a searchable database. And then we started broadcasting that database to everyone, everywhere we could. Gold Star families, military, active duty veterans, because we wanted them to come to our website and try to find their hero. And if they couldn't find them, they could add them. So we began to compile and build and build. And so our number 2.5 years ago was a much smaller number than this over 20,000 that we have now. Because we truly wanted to have the most comprehensive fallen veteran tribute ever conceived in this country. Because we wanted America to know the names of those men and women who gave all. We wanted them to know their names. Then we took those 20,000 names and we organized them by their unique date of death, because we had to have a manageable way of calling them out loud. And so what we came up with was nearly 6,000 unique dates of death. And we're still adding names, by the way. And we took those unique dates of death and we put them on a tribute trail from Fort Irwin, California, through 19 states. This is our 19th state. We finally made it. By chronological date of death. So we started running, our very first mile was October 12, 2000 for the USS Cole. And then every date of death after that was the next mile. So October 13th, November 4th, whatever it may be. We have now run well over 5,000 miles that was mentioned. We have been running for 116 days, and we have called out loud the names of 19,380 heroes to this moment right here. This is how far our journey has taken us. I cannot tell you how many cities that is. I can tell you that today we ran 55 miles for 169 heroes. And every single day, every single mile, How many of you know that we have a live feed? We've been broadcasting this to the world. Okay, a lot of you don't know that. We've been broadcasting this to the world ever since we started. From the moment that first mile began, we have had a live camera phone dedicated on YouTube to broadcasting this because we wanted to make sure that not only those that were there with us heard those names, but everyone anywhere with internet access could hear those names being called and could honor them right where they were. Families may not have been able to be with us, but they could watch us and hear us as long as we had a signal. And sometimes we didn't have a signal. And watch us give tribute. So if you didn't watch the live feed, you don't know what we do every day. But reverently and respectfully and consistently, we have been bringing honor to the men and women who died on every single day. It's not really 5,000 miles that we've run. It's 5,000 unique dates of death. If you look at it that way, it has a whole different meaning. Over 5,000 dates of death since October 12, 2000. And what we do every mile, and I hope that after today, we'll start running tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., that those of you who don't know about the live feed will begin to watch us, because we still have 5 more days to Arlington Cemetery. That's a lot of miles left and a lot of heroes to honor. But what happens is our team is carrying 4 full-size flags. That's difficult in and of itself. I mean, just try running, for a half a marathon or a marathon a day for 116 days. But do it carrying a full-size flag, and do it when that flag is blowing in a 30-mile-an-hour wind or in a torrential downpour, because nothing stops us except lightning, and we even run in the lightning. We just put the flags down. So we're carrying 4 full-size flags. United States flag, for obvious reasons. We're carrying the state flag of the state that we're running in because we're honoring that state. Tomorrow we'll be able to put on our last state flag. Where is it? State of Virginia. We're carrying a flag that was created 3 years ago to honor our fallen police officers and our fallen firefighters. It's called the Honor and Sacrifice flag. We carry that flag because we are escorted across this country by men and women in uniform in a law enforcement vehicle, making sure we're safe. And we honor their brethren, even though we're not calling their names out loud. We want them to know that we haven't forgotten their sacrifice. The 4th flag we carry is the Honor and Remember flag, because it literally represents every fallen service member in the history of our country. And so we carry it for the war on terror, for those that we're reading, but honestly, we're carrying it for them all. And with those flags, we're carrying a placard with the date of death that we're running for and every name that died on that day. And we're also carrying a set of flags. Some of you have one. A little Honor and Remember flag and a United States flag. One set for every name that's on that placard that we're carrying. And when we run up to a predetermined place as a marker, we come to attention. We ask if there's any Gold Star families present. Often there are. And is my flag somewhere around? Okay. And often there are. We acknowledge that family. And then we read that placard. This hero marker is dedicated to those military service members who lost their lives on this day and this date. And then we begin to read those names, one at a time. And as we're reading them, we plant that set of flags in the ground. One set for every name. And then when we're done, we all come back to attention. We hand salute reverently in respect for those that we're honoring. And then we pick up the next placard and the next set of flags for each name, and we move on to the next mile. This has happened every 8 to 10 minutes of every hour for 10 hours a day for 116 days. Relentlessly, religiously, consistently, so that every family is respected and remembered in the same fashion. We've got to put a punctuation on that. I need 2 people to come up. Augie, would you come up? Because it's kind of windy. This is a flag that we have carried since Fort Irwin, California. Since the very first day that we left on this journey, April 7th. And if you can't tell what that blackness is, it contains the names of those fallen service members whose families took it upon themselves to travel thousands of miles, to drive tens of hours, to be on the side of the road for us to perform that ceremony that I just explained to you for 30 seconds. 30 seconds, taking days out of their life on their own expense to find us somewhere in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the Arizona desert or New Mexico, or in the outskirts of Nashville, or in the mountains of Temecula. Every mile we travel, I don't know how many signatures are on here, but can you see? You all right? Somebody have some water? Thanks, Jade. You okay? Can you see the impact of families that have taken the time to be out there? Why? Because they didn't need to be. Did they need a reminder that their loved one wasn't with them? No. None of the Gold Star families need a reminder. But what means the most to them is that somebody else took the time to make a difference, to stand for the name of their loved one. One of the most important things we can do is remember. When we stop remembering as a nation why we have the nation we have, then we're in very sorry shape. Right here, guys. Did I continue? You took my list. One of the most important things in remembering is calling out those names. And one of the things that we do every night, whether we're alone as a core team or whether we're in a group who understand that sacrifice, we reread the names of those who we ran for that day. Because it's very important for a number of reasons. One is that the road is very noisy. And very often those names are not heard. Road noise, wind, rain, whatever that might be. And the second reason is because those families, most of them, are not here. You saw that flag. There may be 300 names on that flag. I don't know. Well, we read over 19,000. Some families were watching. But you have an opportunity here to not only hear your own name if you happen to be one of those we ran for, but you get to stand in for the families who aren't here. You have an opportunity to actually listen to those who families sacrificed and be that family for just a quiet moment. And I'm going to ask my team, whoever is reading, to come up and read the names of those from just today. 55 dates of death, 169 service members, all from the year 2017. I would ask that you silence your cell phones if you haven't already. I haven't heard any go off, so. And then you may sit, you don't have to stand for this reading, but it will take a few minutes to read these heroes' names.
The dates that we ran for today were May 16th through July 15th of 2017. Petty Officer First Class Cole Allen Spinati, United States Navy. Specialist Hernan Velasquez Barragan, United States Army. Senior Airman Kamau Lee Fort, United States Air Force. Seaman Apprentice Savannah Marie Cagle, United States Navy. Petty Officer Third Class Arnold Jameson Pompa, United States Navy. Specialist Pierre Rashad Ross, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Andrew Jackson Stauffenberg, United States Army. Airman First Class LeBron Gabriel Fuentes, United States Air Force. Master Sergeant Mariko Deshawn Gray, United States Air Force. Airman First Class Khalil Clark Jones, United States Air Force. Specialist Casey Joseph Chowning, United States Army. Private First Class Mason Daniel Price, United States Army. Lance Corporal Joshua Aaron Benke, United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant Jeremy Michael Reynolds, United States Army. Specialist Shailene Mava, United States Army. Sergeant Wesley Ray Free, United States Marine Corps. Airman Apprentice Josiah James Tippett, United States Navy. Lance Corporal Christopher David Cook, United States Marine Corps. Specialist Jerome David Brown, United States Army. Specialist Joseph Angelo Rigoroso, United States Army. Lance Corporal Zachary Ian Campbell, United States Marine Corps. Corporal Todd Michael Penn Jr., United States Marine Corps. Specialist Etienne J. Murphy, United States Army. Sergeant Carl Antarius Trice, United States Army. Sergeant Jeffrey Robert Bouchreau, United States Army. Corporal Terry Maxwell Heath, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Jason Patrick Hunold, United States Marine Corps. Special Operator Remington J. Peters, United States Navy. Sergeant Kyle Clayton Thomas, United States Army National Guard. Senior Airman Edward Cole Hitbrader, United States Air Force. Petty Officer First Class Justin Alexis Bryn, United States Navy. Petty Officer First Class Joshua Noel Gill, United States Navy. Captain Matthew Alexander Heisey, United States Air Force. Chief Warrant Officer 5 Lisa Louisa Bryan, United States Army. Specialist Nicholas Desiderio Celadon, United States Army.
Specialist Michael Allen Jack, United States Army. Private George Yanez, United States Army. Senior Airman Melquiades Alonzo Tome, United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant Eric Joseph Baer, United States Marine Corps. Command Sergeant Major Thomas Jefferson Duty IV, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Terrell Wesley Carter, United States Air Force. Airman Apprentice Lydia Margaret Welch, United States Navy. Sergeant First Class Keith Craig Martell, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Dennis Leo Gilbert, United States Army. Corporal Baden Powell Ratterman, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer Zacharias Jonas Elliott, United States Navy. Senior Airman Leslie Stephen Singleton, United States Air Force. Senior Chief Petty Officer Deanne Milanov Donchev, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Joseph Matthew Giletti, United States Army. Specialist Nathan Michael Campbell, United States Army. Petty Officer 2nd Class Christopher Woodlock Clavin, United States Navy. Petty Officer 3rd Class Michael Shane Carey, United States Navy. Corporal John Enos Hickey, United States Marine Corps. Technical Sergeant Tyrone Hubbard, United States Air Force. Sergeant William M. Bays, United States Army. Corporal Dylan C. Baldridge, United States Army. Specialist Joshua Scott Piotrowski, United States Army. Sergeant Eric Michael Haug, United States Army. Senior Airman James Michael Mello, United States Air Force. Petty Officer Brandon Lee Slayton, United States Navy. Specialist Xavier Joseph Hardin, United States Army. Lieutenant Commander James Vincent Solani Jr., United States Navy. Sergeant First Class Nicholas Allen Noyes, United States Army. Major Kyle Cross Taffel, United States Army. Lance Corporal Brandon Charles Laffman, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer Richard Allen Williford, United States Navy. Petty Officer 2nd Class Sean D. Kruger, United States Coast Guard. Sergeant First Class Norman Camacho Fernandez, United States Army.
Master Sergeant Christopher Vern Webb, United States Army. Specialist Ramirez Johnny Santos, United States Army. Colonel Kirk Richard Slaughter, United States Army. Master Sergeant Crystal Nicole Stuckey, United States Air Force. Private First Class Devon James Tucker, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Douglas James Montgomery, United States Army. Senior Master Sergeant Blakely Joseph Eckert, United States Air Force. Airman First Class Kayla Ann Leach, United States Air Force. Petty Officer 3rd Class Shingo Alexander Douglas, United States Navy. Petty Officer Carlos Victor Gonzon Sabayan, United States Navy. Petty Officer 3rd Class Gok Trong Hun, United States Navy. Petty Officer 1st Class Xavier Alec Martin, United States Navy. Chief Petty Officer Gary Leo Rame Jr., United States Navy. Petty Officer 1st Class No Hernandez, United States Navy. Seaman Dakota Kyle Rigsby, United States Navy. Major Elgin Edward Ross, United States Air Force. Petty Officer 2nd Class Derek LeVar Miles, United States Navy. Private First Class Emilio Merced Flores, United States Army. Airman First Class Cirillo Castillo Jr., United States Air Force. Major Charlie Wayne Durr, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Nori Roxanne Mahan, United States Army. Master Sergeant Charles Laverne Higgins, United States Army. Lance Corporal Dadrian Simone Lucas, United States Marine Corps. Senior Airman Samuel Tyler Russell, United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant Wilfredo Hernandez, United States Army. Seaman Tyquise Yuan Brooks, United States Navy. Specialist Michael Henry Pearson, United States Army.
Staff Sergeant Andre Deshaun Taylor, United States Air Force. Petty Officer First Class Stephen Michael Curry, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Garnett Stefano Morrison, United States Army. Senior Airman Cody Matthew Flick, United States Air Force. Petty Officer First Class Jacob Ned Morton, United States Navy. Specialist Eric Scott Bivens, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Spencer Andrew Shurry, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Matthew Michael Sharon, United States Air Force. Petty Officer First Class James Dwayne Harden, United States Navy. Airman Nolan Joseph Fournier, United States Air Force. Petty Officer Second Class Sean William Youngwalsh, United States Navy. Private Dylan Michael Treffs, United States Army. Specialist Colby Tanner Vuck, United States Army. Specialist Harley McKay Leadingham, United States Army. Lieutenant Colonel James Edward Harper III, United States Army. Master Sergeant Aaron Rochelle Smith, United States Army. Master Sergeant John Bryant Fisher Jr., United States Army. Corporal Nicholas Ian Kersinskis, as you were. Kersinskis, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Hanson B. Kirkpatrick, United States Army. Private Stankevion Quinchard Wembley, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Anthony Ray Lovell, United States Army. Petty Officer First Class Stephen Andrew Wilcox, United States Navy. Private First Class Matthew Julian Kieser, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Brian David Turner, United States Air Force. Petty Officer Second Class David Earl Dake, United States Navy. Seaman Apprentice Brandon Tyler Schonert, United States Navy. Specialist Michael Stephen Ferreira Espiazu, United States Army. Petty Officer Third Class Joel Daniel Velasquez, United States Navy. Sergeant Brian Michael Tom, United States Marine Corps. Chief Petty Officer Patrick Brady, United States Navy. Chief Petty Officer Obi Neely Nwangwu, United States Navy. Captain Cheryl Christine Ringer, United States Navy. Seaman Apprentice Roman Anthony Rios, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Mika Charles Mulumba, United States Army.
Lance Corporal Nathaniel John Larson, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer Second Class Renegade Jordan Jones II, United States Navy. Petty Officer First Class Edward Han Yo, United States Navy. Airman Basic Kenrick James Douglas, United States Air Force. Captain Ada Ong Lieutenant, United States Air Force. Corporal Jacob Samuel Schwaller, United States Marine Corps. Chief Petty Officer Roby Lamar Hobson, United States Navy. Petty Officer Third Class James Lewis Pitts, United States Navy. Sergeant Chad E. Jensen, United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant Robert H. Cox, United States Marine Corps. Captain Sean E. Elliott, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Joseph J. Murray, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer Second Class Ryan M. Lahori, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant William J. Kundrat, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Talon R. Leach, United States Marine Corps. Corporal Daniel I. Ballastar, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Owen J. Lennon, United States Marine Corps. Major Kane M. Gautier, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Julian M. Kavani, United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant Joshua M. Snowden, United States Marine Corps. Gunnery Sergeant Mark A. Hopkins, United States Marine Corps. Gunnery Sergeant Brendan C. Johnson, United States Marine Corps. Corporal Colin J. Schraff, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Dietrich A. Schmeiman, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant John Christian Barcelona, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Freddie William Forsyth, United States Army. Lieutenant Colonel Carl Blake Lutrick, United States Army. Specialist Justin Glenn Ogden, United States Army. Captain Patrick Scott Jones, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Matthew William Sayer, United States Army. Captain Nicholas Vaughn Thomas, United States Army. Sergeant James Andrew McDonough, United States Army. Sergeant Henry M. Ventura, United States Army Reserve. Petty Officer Second Class Prom Lipton, Hong Kong, United States Navy. Specialist James Thomas Smith IV, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Mohammed Wafa, United States Army. Specialist Peter Lopez, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Brandon Ryan Bailey, United States Marine Corps. Colonel David Brian Wiersma, United States Army. Technical Sergeant Robert Edward Torres, United States Air Force.
169 heroes, over 55 dates of death. Just 55 dates of death. One of the things that we do when we finish the reading of our names, and I hesitate sometimes to just move on. But we do want this to be the most comprehensive fallen veteran tribute of our time. We really do. And so, in this moment now, I give everyone here an opportunity to call out loud the name of a loved one who we did not call. And it didn't matter if we've called them in the past, and it doesn't matter what generation. So if anyone would like to call the name out loud of someone that they lost in military service, someone dear to them, maybe their neighbor, maybe their battle buddy, it does not matter. Again, it does not matter the generation. Before we close this moment, I would like to be able to honor your loved one as well. It is very difficult, I know, to take a name from here and speak it out loud. I won't take a lot of time to do this. Anybody over here? Yes, ma'am.
Lance Corporal Christopher Mayo Pruitt, United States Marine Corps.
Thank you. Yes, loud as you can.
First Lieutenant Michael Edward Johnson, United States Marine Corps.
Thank you.
Staff Sergeant Jonathan Killian Dozier, United States Army.
Thank you. Anyone else over here? In the front here. Anyone? I'm not putting you on the spot. Yes, ma'am.
Leo A.M. Brian Burfield, United States Navy.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Staff Sergeant Mark Allen, Smith, United States Army.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Staff Sergeant Christopher Laurel, United States Army. My uncle, retired Colonel Samuel Thomas, United States Army.
Thank you. Anyone else in here? No? We're going to move across. Miss anybody? Anyone over here?
Marvin Alexander, Private United States Army, April 1922.
Thank you. Anyone else? Guys back there, no? Yes, sir.
Three generations. My brother, Barry Martoni, Sergeant, Vietnam, United States Marine Corps. My father, Augustine Sr., United States Air Force Airborne, 92 years old. And our son, Johnny Justin Robert Martoni, Iraq, 2006, United States Marine Corps.
Thank you. One more time, anyone? We could just bow our heads for a moment of silence and reflection of those names that were ran for today, those spoken, and those yet to be called out in the next 5 days to Arlington. Amen. One final thing, and I'm going to give up the floor. One of the most important things that we do as an organization is to remember. But not only to remember globally, as you can tell, individually by name, but we take that even to another level. Because we want to make sure that every family individually is recognized So as often as we can, we are able to make a special presentation. There's Sean and Kristen. I would make this presentation if it was folded correctly. We'll talk for a minute. When the flag was created, initially, it was just meant to be an open, generic flag, a symbol of thanks. And I remember sitting with someone from my church, and they said, if you could figure out a way to make this personal, then maybe people would pay attention. And so I thought about that for a little while and realized that the design of the flag lent itself to be personal. And therefore, we began the opportunity to give a special gift to individual families. And I remember my wife saying to me one day, she said, forget about all the legislation and getting flags on flagpoles. She said, make presentations to families, because that is really the heart of what this mission is. And I will tell you that to date we've made over 3,000 presentations, not by me, but by others around this country. And we honestly make a presentation on the average of one every day. Unfortunately, we get 2 requests every day, and we're not able to keep up, but that's another story. So tonight, we're going to honor a family that came all the way from Pennsylvania, I believe, to be here with us today at this ceremony. And we're honored to have them here, Shoulder family, and I'd like to ask them to come forward. Where's Kristen? Can you help? Chris? No? He doesn't want to do it. All right. I need someone to help with the phone. Because it's windy. How are you? Good. So this flag that Sean is holding is a personalized, hand-sewn honor and remember flag that was prepared specifically for this family. It's folded in a triangle because it mirrors the American flag that was folded and handed to them at the memorial of their loss. To be encased reverently and respectfully forever, kind of as a gift from a grateful nation, but as a reminder of that loss. The Honor and Remember flag is folded this way one time, initially, just to mirror this American flag because it's part of our symbology. But once it's open, it's meant to be a celebration of life and not a reminder of death. You can open that flag, and you guys can hold it. This Honor and Remember flag is presented with eternal gratitude and respect in memory of Sergeant Adam C. Shoulder. With this flag, we honor this patriot's unwavering dedication and remember his selfless sacrifice. By displaying this symbol collectively as a nation, we humbly recognize the enormity of your loss and respectfully say thank you. You want to say something? Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I just want to first of all thank everybody for being out here. I know everybody's busy. You took the time to come out here, and I really appreciate that. All these families do. Those are the Gold Star families. And I appreciate George coming out here and the dedication he has to what he's been doing. I've watched him on live video. I've watched some of the YouTube videos that they filmed. It's amazing. I haven't seen any other display better than this of honoring and remembering our sons and daughters. And it's true. When you see the name of your son, hear his name mentioned, just brings things back in a bad way that we appreciate. And I just also want to say thanks to the city of Chesapeake for doing this. You know, I didn't realize until tonight that this is where it originated from. We lost Adam in Hawaii, helicopter crash in 2016. Our family was over there for 2 weeks during the search and rescue and the salvage and recovery. I kept in contact with my family as best I could. But when we came back from the island, the first place we came was here. To see my family and our friends. And it was good to be surrounded by that kind of love. We needed that. So thank you for Chesapeake for doing this. And George and your team, amazing. The first time we came in contact with Honor and Remember was back in 2016 at a Gold Star Mother Retreat in West Virginia. And I remember before we went into the ceremony, they presented 5 flags to families. We didn't know what was going on. We're still numb. This was only a few months after. I'll never forget, before I walked into the room, they had a table full of pictures of all the fallen that were going to be remembered that weekend. There was over 200 of them. And right in the middle of the table was Adam's picture. It was tough seeing his picture there. But when I saw what they did during the presentations, and I knew what this outfit was about, I said, we want to support these guys. We want to be part of it. We asked for a flag back then, and we presented with it tonight. We're so very, very grateful for it. And with that said, I want to present this to you in front of everybody. This is for you guys, your organization, because I can tell you, you're doing a good job. It's meant a lot to our families, and everybody's family. Remembering our sons and daughters. Thank you, brother.
All right, if you'll allow me to do one more thing. All of our crew has been, as I say, deployed for the last almost 5 months. Right? They left their families, they left their bills behind, they left a lot of things, unattended to over the last four almost 5 months. What I did was I started from here and I flew to California and we ran back. So finally I made it back. So I really have to give credit to my family for letting me go. My wife, my sister, my mom, my stepdad, my daughter, they kind of pushed me out, but they let. I just ran home, so I'm back. But that's all. Well,
thank our Patriot Guard, stood with Honor Guard here today, and our first responders. We know we were going to need them. Now, I'd like to invite everybody up to the American Legion Hall. I'd like to join us. There's a barbecue that has barbecue up there. And spend some more time together.
They made me cry.